Loren.
Richard joins us live now from New York City in our studio there. And Richard, you do it in a very colorful way in your book there, High Notes, High Notes, a rock memoir working with rock legends, Jefferson Airplanes through the Grateful Dead, the Doors and the Grateful Dead. I'm sorry I botched the title there, but we have a copy of the book up here on the screen. Richard, I'm a big fan of a lot of this music here, but the scene that took place around these groups, you have a lot of insight. And after all of your years working with these groups, why did you decide to put pen to paper and tell these stories now?
Well, originally, I didn't really want to do that. I'd kind of been there, done that. I had that attitude, you know. It's like life in the fast lane. I got out just in time, I felt, you know, and I said, well, I don't know, let me just calm down. And despite the fact that through the years after I left the business, a lot of friends, acquaintances wanted to hear stories. You know, it's all about celebrities. What was it like to be with Jim Morrison? What was Jerry really like? And, you know, everybody wants to know, you know, about celebrity. But even despite that, I kind of said, nah, I don't really want to go there. But about 10 years ago, I met a young student in Bates College. He was like 19, 20 years old, and he started asking me questions. He was a big Jerry Garcia fan, mostly Grateful Dead. He had never heard Jerry or the Grateful Dead, but just listening to the music and the way Jerry played, he was really intrigued. So he actually interviewed me for like a couple of hours. He just wanted to know about everything I had done. And at the end of our talk, he said, Richard, you know, you just got to write a book about this. He says, you know, people want to know about all the people you encountered along the way, Bill Murray, Jane Fonda, you know, the Kennedys. He said, this is interesting stuff. And I said, well, you know, I really can't get into it right now. I was right in the process of producing the Rock in the Cradle, which was the 30th anniversary of the Grateful Dead's performance in Egypt in '78. So, you know, I kind of really put it aside, but it was still on the back burner of my mind.
Well, I want to talk about some more specifics on these stories that you mentioned here, and it seems like you lived an amazing life, including bailing Jim Morrison out of jail, also drinking mimosas with the Kennedys. If you had to choose one moment, though, which stands out the most about your career, which one would it be?
Well, it has to be Egypt and the Grateful Dead's performance there. You know, it was. I went to Egypt in 1970. Marty Ballin was a friend of mine from the Jefferson Airplane, and he exposed me to a lot of books on Egypt when I was living with him for a while. And I said, wow, when I get a break, I have to go to Egypt, because it just seems so enchanting and so mystical, and I just wanted to learn more about it. So when the Grateful Dead went on hiatus in 1975, I took the opportunity and I just went to Egypt. And I was on a camel, and I was, you know, going around the pyramids, and I looked down and I saw a stage, and I said, oh my God, the Grateful Dead have got to play here. So one thing led to another, and it happened. And in September 14th, 15th, and 16th of 1978, they performed. And you know, the moment when they struck that first note, you know, I looked up, there was a full moon and lunar eclipse, and I said, oh my God, my crowning achievement, you know. I was able to bring the Grateful Dead to Egypt and play in front of the pyramid. So it was, you know, momentous for me.
That's pretty amazing. Now, Richard, the title of your book, I'm assuming it's a bit of a double entendre, if you will, or tongue-in-cheek. What's it like exposing, you know, the sex, drugs, and rock and roll, the underbelly, if you will, of the glamour of the music industry?
What's the actual question? I'm sorry, Mark.
You know, the underbelly, the sex, drugs, rock and roll. I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand.
Well, you know, I mean, I think it's the whole sex, drugs, rock and roll thing is really overemphasized. At least with the groups that I was with. You know, there were serious musicians that were playing music, and you know, in life, you know, everybody gets high one way or another. We have coffee in the morning, we drink wine at night, we drink take tobacco, you know. And I think they make more of it than it really is. I'm sure there are excesses for sure, but I don't know. I just found the musicians to be like, I mean, I love artists, you know. I found myself really, you know, attaching myself to artists more than the business world, and I found them to be real people, you know. Anyway, I hope I answered your question.
You did.
Well, Richard, the music industry has changed a lot, and a lot of that can be attributed to downloading digital music, and now people can share quote-unquote music online, and it's really re-emphasized the importance of performing live to an audience, much like it was so important back when you were running a lot of and dealing with a lot of these music groups. Do you think that has helped out the quality of music, popular music today, to any degree?
Well, I feel pretty optimistic about what's happening now. I think there was a doldrums after the 70s, kind of in a way, I don't know. But now I see a lot of young musicians, you know, actually because they can't get big record deals and so on, they're turning back to just playing locally and creating music. I mean, some of the new groups I really admire, you know, the Abbott Brothers, the Mumford & Sons, Lake Street Dive, there are quite a few young new groups coming out now that are playing real music, I think.
So Richard, all these years, all these bands, do you have a favorite song that really touches you?
Well, I like a lot of the Grateful Dead numbers. I like Deal by the Grateful Dead. I love Break On Through the Other Side by the Doors, Light My Fire. I love Marty Ballin's music, and of course Grace Slick and Somebody to Love and White Rabbit. But there's so much, you know, in those years there was so much good music. And I mean, if you look back on the charts in 1968, I mean, there was the Beatles, the Stones, the Grateful Dead, the Doors, Simon and Garfunkel, Van Morrison, Otis, and Aretha, and Janis. And, you know, we thought that was like just going to be the way it was all the time, you know. But it was a momentous period in time. You know, rock was really a movement then. It was a catalyst for change. I mean, we all were kind of young and idealistic, and, you know, we were behind, you know, hope for a better world and all that. So I think that had a lot to do with the creation of the music of that period.
Oh, certainly, and definitely the Vietnam War, the Civil Rights Movement, all that contributing, Richard, to that, what led up to maybe the greatest period in American music that we've ever witnessed, and maybe we will ever witness.
Right, right.
All right. Well, Richard Loren, thank you so much for being with us. The new book is called High Notes, a rock memoir, working with rock legends, Jefferson Airplanes, Through the Doors, to the Grateful Dead. Richard Loren, so great to have you with us.
Well, thank you very much, John and Morgan. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll make a great Christmas gift out there for a lot of folks, too, available now on Amazon.com. We got much more to come here on Newsmax TV today. We got another political discussion. The chicks on the right, and they gave me permission to call them chicks, will be back with us here after this. Following Newsmax Now update, of course, we continue to keep our eyes on what's taking place in Ferguson, Missouri, the day after that grand jury did not indict Officer Darren Wilson. Much more to come here right after this.